Amber is a former underwriter, so she has years of experience in underwriting, and she's going to give us some juice, some tidbits, some juice that can help buyers as they prepare to get ready for this buying process so that they're ready to buy. And so I got quite a few questions for Amber. Underwriting is like the mystery piece of the home buying purchase process. So to have her on here today to give us some insight is awesome. Hey, Amber, how are you?
Good, and you?
I am doing awesome. I really appreciate you hopping on with me today. I think you have the experience and information that a lot of people would like to hear about. So I'm glad that you could join me. All right, so Amber.
Yes, ma'am.
My first question, what does an underwriter do? What do they do?
Right. Basically, we're the person that decides whether or not you're going to get a loan approved. We're the one that get to, as they say, dissect your file on paper, reviewing your income, reviewing your assets, reviewing any type of gaps in employment, anything. We're basically the person that verifies everything that you have on paper is what you say you are. So once we do that, like say for instance, as an underwriter, before the file even gets to the underwriter, you have your loan officer who takes all the information, which is your W-2s, your pay stubs, your bank statements, a copy of your driver's license, a copy of, your credit report. Also a person who, if you're purchasing a house, you would also be looking at a purchase agreement. So all this stuff is given to the processor, who's the person who looks at the file before I even get to it. So that person just basically makes sure that you have all your ducks in a row, that all your income is there as what you stated it was. Whether it's self-employed, W-2, that all has to be verified. They pull also like a verification of employment to say, okay, is this person still working there? Did they just get a bonus or did they just get a raise? All this has to be documented on paper. So once I see it, I don't have to go back and re-verify anything. It's already been done by your processor. So I'm basically the person that says, okay, your processor matched all the information to your application, whether made sure your employment is exactly what it said it was. Make sure the pay stubs match up to what your employer says they pay you. Also make sure it matches your W-2s, because what we also do is we pull a 4506T from the government to make sure your W-2s are actually matching in line with your pay stubs. Have to verify that. Also, I'm the person that also looks at your assets. With assets, a little bit different. So if you're doing anywhere between 3.5% to 10% down on the home, I have to know where this money's coming from. Whether it's a gift from your family, if it's a gift, hey, we have to have documentation showing that they gifted you this money and you don't have to pay it back to them. We also have to make sure that there's no large deposits. When I say large deposits, more money. So like, let's say on average, your pay stub you're averaging a deposit anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000 every pay period. Mm-hmm. If you have assets that are more than that, like say if you have a deposit that was maybe $7,500 to $10,000, we got to know where this money's coming from. It's not, okay, well, they just gave it to me. No, we either have to have a letter for a large deposit, or if it's a gift, or if it's a large deposit, where did it come from? Did it come from your 401k? Was it a family decided to be nice and just give you this money? But we have to source everything to know exactly where it comes from, because with mortgages, it's basically we're verifying, again, your life's on paper. So that type of information, also, make sure they have the closing dates right, make sure any amendments are right, make sure if the borrower or the seller is contributing to closing, having to make sure all that information is correct in the system, as far as basically just dotting all your I's and your T's to make sure everything is clear across the board.
So y'all literally back there crunching numbers and calling folks.
Yes. Pretty much, yes. Fun part, as they call it.
Okay, so what are some of the common inconsistencies that you have seen in documentation as an underwriter?
Pay stubs. You most of the time they want your 2 most recent pay stubs within the month. Sometimes we'll get it where, say for instance, they'll give it to us for the beginning of January, but we don't see another one until the middle of February, which isn't consistent. Because what they're trying to verify is basically that your income has been consistent from the beginning to current. So most people don't pay attention to that. Also, some other things that we see is, I would definitely say, gaps of employment. Most people don't think that everybody needs to know about that, but unfortunately we have to know, why was there a gap in employment, whether it was due to COVID, whether it was due to your company downsizing. We have to know about that type of information as well. Also, assets, deposits here and there. You can have a certain amount of deposits, but they can't be large and they can't be inconsistent. Like, okay, Kim might be giving me some money here and there, but where's it coming from? Why is Kim giving me this money? Is it due to a job that I'm doing for you, or is it a side hustle that I have? It just depends. You have to address all that information. So as long as everything can dot and line up in a row, you'll be good. But if you have any inconsistency in any of the documentation, that's where a lot of the questions come up about, okay, well, where's this coming from, or where's something coming from? Because again, everything has to dot up. You will line up as far as crossing on your T's and your I's. So yeah, that's some of the inconsistencies that we see, even when it comes to refinances. Some of the refinances, we just have to make sure that your income, again, is what it says it is, and your assets are the same as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's one place where a lot of buyers get frustrated is, they start with the loan officer. They say, hey, I need all these documents, right? They give them all those, and then they submit them to you in a package, right? Or the processor in a package. Processor makes sure everything is there. Then they pass it on to you, and it says the file is now in underwriting, right? So that's that mystery place where you just like waiting to see, what's gonna happen, what they want, am I gonna get approved? And then there's a phase in there that's called conditional approval, right? And that's when the underwriter kick all that stuff back and say, hey, you approved, but we need
A, B, and
all
C.
These conditions met. So they like, well, I already turned this in, and you be like, but okay, now here are the questions we got about what you turned in, right?
Yes.
Right. They might want a more recent bank statement. They might want a more recent check stub. Kind of talk through that process, so that the people that get so frustrated with that part can understand why you're doing what you're doing.
So when it comes to a conditional approval, basically, like you just stated, we've already looked at everything that you turned into us the first time, but we're seeing maybe a gap, or maybe we're seeing an inconsistency in whether it's your income or your assets. So, okay, your employer filled out a verification of employment and says you're making XYZ in income, but your pay stub doesn't match. Well, say for instance, also, I know during when COVID first started, everybody was working remotely. So a lot of companies, we had to get approved to say, okay, these people are allowed to work remotely and don't have to go into an office. So now, unfortunately, as a borrower, I need for the processor to come back to you and say, okay, we need your supervisor's information, because we need to know why XYZ is going on, or why are you getting XYZ and extra income, because that's not what they stated on the pay stub or that information. Okay, well, you might be, as they say, a hybrid employee where you work from home certain days, but you drive in other days and you get paid for that mileage. Everybody's sort of different. So it just depends on stuff like that. Also, if I might come back and say, hey, Kim, you got this large deposit of $3,000 to $4,000. Where'd this money come from? I need, you say, oh, well, Amber, it's nothing. It's something small. No. I have to know exactly where it comes from, because again, when we're selling the loans to the lenders and to the government or whatever, they have to be able to connect the whole file together to say that X, Y, and Z all matches up. So therefore, if I have any inconsistency, the lender might not be able to buy the loan because I didn't answer certain questions. Well, she says she has a large deposit for $3,000 to $4,000, but we didn't say where it came from. So that might cause the lender not to purchase the loan. So when we come back to the borrowers, it's not to be a pain in the butt, but basically it's to make sure all the pieces, again, of the puzzle fit together and everything matches consistently.
Okay. I got all kinds of questions from that statement that I need to ask you. Okay. So my first question is, if they turn in the information that you asked for in that conditional approval, there is still a chance that they will not get approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then they don't get to talk to y'all. All they get to talk to is the realtor and the loan officer. Right. It's like, we take all y'all heat. So
right, I know. I'm
just like, is this process subjective? Meaning, is it the person that's actually looking at the file that really determines whether they're going to approve the loan based off of you even turning in all the conditions that they asked for?
Okay, well, let me say this.
2023, I'll be talking to lenders, some of my vendor partners, just to give you a better idea of how the process works. So buying a home, selling a home. I think education is very important at this time to keep buyers and sellers informed about what's happening in the market. So look out for those videos. Thanks.